Wow, are you in for a treat today? I have an unbelievable, really remarkable guy. How many of you would like to build campaigns that generate over $500 million in sales? Well, our next speaker has. He's a tremendous entrepreneur. He's a good friend. He's taught over 10,000 students how to bring in that $500 million. He's helped me bring in several $1,000,000, and just in one idea from his new book, brought in $200,000. You want to stay tuned because it's going to make a huge difference in your business.
Ordinary success? No way. You want amazing, remarkable, exceptional breakthroughs. Dig deep, think bold, drive hard, watch yourself soar beyond your dreams. AESNation.com.
Jeff, I am so excited to have you here, power magic of Skype, in your new almost complete studio.
Almost complete. It's great to be here, John. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, Jeff and I have become good friends over the years. We've been in a couple masterminds together, and we've shared an awful lot of ideas. And Jeff is my go-to person. As a matter of fact, on occasion, I sit at the cool guy table, and Jeff's over there. And I have walked away with so many ideas and insights and so on. I wanted to share them with our community here, Jeff, and maybe just give a little bit of background, because I didn't know who you were, and I consider myself a pretty successful serial entrepreneur, and you're making a huge difference out there. So what is it that you do?
Well, first of all, John, we always want you at the cool guy table because you bring such a tremendous insight, and you're such a big thinker, and you get things done. So always want you at that table. So what I do is I teach people how to launch new brands, new products, new businesses, primarily online. I've been doing business online since 1996. I'm one of the graybeards on the internet. And, frankly, I know we're talking to a lot of people who've got great businesses and even more corporate. And I've been sort of, nose to the grindstone, not so much corporate, bootstrapped everything all along the way. And because that was the only way I really knew how. But these, what I've developed, it's funny. We call it the product launch formula. And people have taken that and used it just in every business and every market you could possibly imagine. And it's been a crazy, crazy ride because I started from my, the spare bedroom. It was actually the baby's changing room back in 1996.
No, and it's, and let's go through, as entrepreneurs, as fellow entrepreneurs, we got a whole bunch of like-minded entrepreneurs. I think it's important to know your background, Jeff, before we get into the solutions. And I got to tell you the results, because oftentimes, really individuals like me who have been out there, more in a traditional corporate. I grew up in the financial services industry. I've worked in large corporations. I've been running divisions and so on. You look at these kind of information marketing guys. I'm going to put you in that category of online. Jeff's one of the most successful. We're going, is there any lessons to be learned here? And I got to tell you, there is. it's worth millions of dollars for all of you. But right. I want, Jeff, why don't you start kind of the humble beginning? Because, you didn't really, grow up as an internet giant. First of all, the internet wasn't there. But how did this evolve?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, John, is I've watched your progress as we've known each other over the last 4 or 5 years. You've done this great job of straddling this world of, really bringing the corporate tools and the corporate knowledge and all your success there, but then melding it with some of the bootstrapping type of stuff that the world that I've been in. And, I think that's a big reason why you've had that remarkable success. You've pulled the best from both worlds. But I started out, I was a corporate failure. I did not know how to do the whole corporate thing. Got out of school, went to work at Motorola, worked there for a few years, was a square peg in a round hole, bounced to a couple of corporate jobs. And then when my wife was in graduate school, she became pregnant with our first child, my son Daniel, and she was just finishing grad school. And I could not stand my corporate job, so I quit and I came home to be a Mr. Mom. And, a lot of times Mr. Mom's, primary caregiver, stay-at-home dad, whatever you want to call it, and I wasn't one of those guys that, I sold my business for 30 million and then I came home to stay with the kids. It was just, I didn't have really any other great options. So, and this went on for a long time until...
Well, and you were an early adopter. It wasn't quite as cool as it is today now,
exactly.
too.
It was totally not cool then. It was so weird because I think I had the education and the aspirations. So like I did not fit in with the other stay-at-home moms. And it was just weird. But then, and this went on for years, like 4 or 5 years. And then one day my wife came home in the middle of the day from her job. She was an engineer. And she drove up in front of the house, and I'm like, in the middle of the day, I'm like, what's going on? I'm in the living room taking care of now 2 kids. And my wife came in, and she was just walked in the door, and she was in tears. And she's like, Jeff, I just need you to try to help support the family in some way. I'm getting up in the dark. I'm coming home in the dark. I want to be a mom, or at least a part-time mom. And, is there some way you can help support the family? Even at that point, $10,000 in a year would make a huge difference for us. Because, we were surviving on, one salary. It wasn't a huge salary. My wife was working for the federal government, so it was not a lot of money to go around. And so I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? And, I'd already committed career suicide.
When that happens, too, for any guys, I know you are a great guy. And, that, when your wife comes home to that, that's huge.
It was like a knife in my gut. It was just... And I just felt like I was in a complete box. It was, yeah. So I just remember, but resolving that I'm going to do something. And actually, the best plan I could come up with immediately was I'm going to go back to school, go to grad school, get another degree, try the corporate world again. And I figured that way I could try to hide that 5-year gap on my resume. It wasn't a very good plan, but what I also started doing was, at that point, I've been studying the stock market very intensively for that entire time I was home with the kids. Because, I'm a guy, I'm driven. It's like, at night after the kids were in bed, I had to do something, right? And but what I did was I came up with this idea, like, how am I going to get into grad school if I don't have anything on my resume? So my idea was I'm going to start publishing a newsletter. And I'm going to send
Jeff,
it via...
What frame is this?
This is 1996.
Okay.
And I thought... And I'm going to apply to grad school, and I'm going to put, if I start publishing a newsletter, no one's going to know I'm going to send it via email. No one's going to know that it's via email. I'll just put on my resume that I'm publishing the Walker Market Letter. It'll maybe look impressive enough to get me into school. And the weird thing is so I sent that first, I just started publishing August 30th, 1996. It's the first Walker Market Letter. And sent that out to 19 email addresses. And I'm specifically saying email addresses because one of them was my second email address. One was my wife's email address. So outside of my immediate home.
So you started out as a publisher.
Right.
And I want to just stop here because the reason I want to go Jeff's background. All of us have, nobody gets out of life unscarred. We all have those moments with our spouses, our partners, and so on. And even the few people born with wealth that I know, they still have it. Nobody gets out unscarred. So we want to take that, but I want to focus on that 19 because I know your list is bigger than 19 now. Okay. And it's so important. We're building communities. Jeff's phenomenal at building community and making things happen and so on. But, with no resources, without a big list, a community, started with 19. Where'd you go from there?
Well, that's a great point because I wasn't born with a list. No one comes out of the womb with a list. That list, it grew through word of mouth. Eventually, within, I don't know, the time frame, probably by 2000, 2001, that list, I grew it to 80,000 subscribers. And those are free. They're not paying me for that.
But that's my list of top financial advisors, 80,000. That's a lot of work pulling together a list of 80,000 people that want to open up your emails and communicate with you.
Right. And so, but yeah, I just intuitively, I knew that's the one thing I got right. Intuitively, I'm like, if I get this list of subscribers, then I'm going to have some kind of influence, some kind of power. It's worth more than $0. And so that list started to build. And initially, it was to put on the resume. But after a few months, I had this thought that maybe I can sell them something. And I had no sales experience. I had no marketing experience. And I had to say, I was desperate. We needed some.
Yeah, desperation works too.
Exactly. I needed some change in my life. And so I actually bought, it was an information product I bought. It was on a floppy drive, and it taught the basics of selling. But I was still scared to ask for the order. I was scared to ask people to pay me. The thought that someone would pay me for something I created I couldn't conceive of it. And so but I had to sell something. I needed a change. And so what I did was I started this romance process where I just delivered a lot of value, and I kept on giving more and more and more value. And that eventually led up to asking for the order. And I didn't know it at the time, but what I was creating was really the basics, the foundation of Product Launch Formula, because that's what my formula is all about. And then in January 1st I did my first product launch. That was 1997, January 1st. And I built up all through the month of November and December by delivering tremendous value. And then I sent out a sales letter. It was sent via email. I couldn't take credit cards, so it basically said, send me a check. And the product was just an enhanced version of my free newsletter. I just added more stuff to it, made it come out more often. And, I woke up the next morning, sent that email out, woke up the next morning, and someone actually wrote back and said, I'm in, I'll send you a check. Like, one person.
Yeah, I mean, all we need is a little bit of positive encouragement out there.
I could not believe, I jumped so high. I could not believe it. Someone's going to pay me. And then within a week, I had a few more orders come in, and it ended up being $1,650, $1,650. And, money's a funny thing. It's all relative where you're at. And I know most of the people listening to this are going to be, or watching this, are very highly successful. But for me, 1650. Remember, my wife said, "Can you just bring in 10,000 somehow? It'll change your life."
Well, and I can tell you, most of the people on the whether they're watching the video podcast or listening on the audio, there's been a time that 1650 was a big deal.
That it was monumental. But the thought I had right then was, I did this once. I can do it again, and I can do it again, and I might even at some point get better at it. And I literally had that thought. And, that's what happened. I actually, on the few days later, I went for I did get accepted into grad school. I was going to go for a graduate finance degree at the University of Colorado, Denver. And so January 4th or 5th, first day of school, I went there, and I'm sitting there in the first class. And mind you, I had spent 6 months with this whole big plan of somehow getting in that class. And I'm sitting in that first class. I don't know if I told you this story, John, but I'm sitting in that first class. And it was like remember in Peanuts, when the teacher sounded like, wah, 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 wah. I'm sitting there listening. I'm looking around at everyone. I'm like, I just made $1,650. It's and in the middle of that class, I got up and I walked out in the middle of my first class of graduate school.
I don't think that being an MBA with finance, I got a master's in tax too. I don't think the world needs any more of that. We need help. Getting people to raise their hand to explore working with us, which I'm glad you left the class.
Yeah. So I walked out. So long story short, the next launch did get better. I did $1,650, and then I did $8,000, and it just kept on ramping up as my list grew and my skills grew. And I eventually started taking credit cards. I figured that one out after a while. And, it got to be a few years later in 99, late 98, there we did the launch. It was actually June 98, $34,000. That was more than I ever made in an entire year. And that was the launch that brought Mary home. That was when we started talking about her retiring. And then by 99, she retired. 2000, I live in Colorado. We were living in the Denver area. I wanted to move out to the mountains. In 2000, I did a launch that did $106,000 in 7 days. That one bought our home out in Durango, Colorado, and we moved to the mountains. And they just kept on getting better and better and better. And then in 2003, I went to a seminar, a marketing seminar, and I realized that what I was doing was unusual. Up till then, I figured everyone must be doing this stuff. But started teaching a few friends that I met at that seminar. One of them did a launch that did $1 million in 24 hours.
Yeah, so I want to stop here. Okay, we're in 2004. And, this is where I would have met you not until, actually, I met you during the financial downturn, so 2008, 2009. And that's where I was a little more open to ideas. I don't know why, but I'm meeting Jeff, and Jeff had a nice newsletter business, making good money and so on. And this is sometimes the business we're in is not the business we should be in. And Jeff has I always think of it as kind of I want to work with people who have made things simple. It's on the right side of simplicity, where there's simple when you're just dumb. When we're ignorant as beginning entrepreneurs, we make all these mistakes, and then we start figuring out, but then we make it really complicated. And then you go to the other side where it becomes, I don't want to say effortless, but really working well. And Jeff, you saw that vision there that, you could help others like me do these launches. And, for the entrepreneurs, we all get excited about, Steve Jobs and how he would do these launches. It would be masterful. But you were coming at it from, really bootstrap it. And all of a sudden you saw, wow, people want this help. And where did that go from there, Jeff?
Well, it's a funny thing. Here's an entrepreneurial lesson, because no matter where we're at, we always run into challenges. And so I had that business teaching about the stock market right up until 2005. And I had a partner in that business because who was helping me with some of the content. In early 2005, we had a partnership breakup, and that business ceased to exist, like literally over a phone call. And it was a bit of a surprise to me. But I looked around and I said, boy, I'm actually I love this teaching people how to build their businesses. I love making that impact on people's lives. And people are asking me for it. And so, I just created a new business. And the second time around, it went a lot faster than the first time.
Well, it does so often. And I want to fast forward, because I was meeting you just after you've done, I think, the first product launch, maybe, or right around there, maybe the second even.
Yeah, it was the second one, I think.
Well, give some numbers of that.
Yeah, Product Launch Formula. So I came up with a product called Product Launch Formula. Then when we met was 2008, like you said, around the downturn, and I did a launch, my 2.0 version, and that was a big one. We did it was almost $1.1 million in the first hour that we released that product. And at this point, I'm doing this from my basement. I've got a staff of...
for all of us as entrepreneurs, most of you have businesses over 5 million. Some of you watching this have over $100 million business. This is a guy, I know Jeff. He's talented and all that, but he's doing it out of his basement, not even Denver. He's out in Durango, right. And he's still gone. And if it's a powder day, he doesn't even work on it. He's out there. So this is why these lessons, this simplicity in taking a launch, it's so valuable. And Jeff, let's go to I want to go, because there's no question you've had a lot of success bringing this information out. Why do you think people keep on coming back to you for your expertise?
Boy, that's a really good question. I think one of the things is that, I'm continually refining it. I keep on making our training better, our product better. And back in the day when I started this, teaching people, I think I knew 10% more than everyone else. But now one of the things I do is community, and I build a strong community. And so my Product Launch Formula owners, that's one of the rules in my business is everyone who's bought my product, in my team, they're referred to as Product Launch Formula owners, and we always have to capitalize the O. It's it's important, because they're a part of our family. And they always bring their learnings back to me, and the things they come up back to me. And now all of a sudden I know 100% more than everyone else, because my students are so successful and they bring the lessons back. So that's one of them. And I think fostering the idea of community. So many people are so disconnected right now. We're out, we're talking via Skype, John.
Right.
We're blessed that we get together 3, 4, 5 times a year. But so much of our connection is, we're sitting in front of our computer. We don't connect with people. And so I always make a very strong effort to build that community. And I think, frankly, that's one of the reasons people keep on coming back, because they love that connection, both with me and with the other Product Launch Formula owners. That's the best I've got.
Well, and I think, so there's some lessons learned here. I mean, one, Jeff, everything you've always done is, constantly raising the bar, delivering a great experience to your owners. And we all, whether it's community, tribe, whatever you call, I mean, I've seen that, Jeff, and I mean, I look at your website and blog, and I mean, you got tons of comments. I mean, people, they're very vested in your success because you've helped them be successful. And,
Right.
and this is where, I mean, sometimes in corporate, we lose sight of all this stuff. I mean, we're building a business, we're charging so hard. We don't bring everybody along. I have the good fortune, my primary business is coaching financial advisors. And boy, the lessons learned when you let them be part of the community and really participate, it's huge. I mean, you get an unfair competitive advantage in the lessons.
Absolutely. The thing, like, I think I'm probably the most boring person in the world at like a cocktail party, because all I want to do is brag about my owners, about the results they've gotten. The $500 million. And I know there's a lot of people watching this with very significant businesses, but a lot of that $500 million was people just starting out and bootstrapping from nothing. And I've got story after story of that impact that I've been able to make. And that excites me. I mean, I just really get jacked up about the impact I can make. I've been able to build, make a lot of money. Money's great. I love that. Sold tens of millions of dollars of my product at a very high margin. So that's awesome. I've been able to create this great lifestyle for my family. Those two kids that were little babies, I get to ski with them and mountain bike with them now. I'm married 26 years now. I've got this incredible family. I got this great team. But the thing that drives me to keep on building and making it better is that impact. I don't know what, it's just hardwired into me that I love helping people build businesses and roll out their ideas and their products and bring more good and wealth and progress to the world.
Well, and Jeff, I mean, you've done a great job. And I was just thinking, I probably about $2 million a year of revenue is responsible because of you.
Nice. So I'm going to say it's $502 million.
Yeah. But per year though too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah. And so I mean, some nuances and so on. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have Jeff join us. Is it's just so sometimes we get caught up in our own industry, whatever industry we're in, and we think, we're looking at all the competitors, what they're doing, and we've got to do. One of the things I want to encourage everyone, and this is part of why we, Dan Sullivan, Jeff is in my mastermind with Dan, strategic coach, and a lot of top information marketing guys really are in that, our group. And it's just hanging out like that. And that's one of the reasons why Dan kind of pushed me to get this going, is that we got to share all the insights that we collectively have. I mean, it's an amazing group. Now, I'm going to ask you a tough question, and I know, because I want to go to your book, because you got a book launch going on and all this stuff. But I've never asked you this, so I don't know if you can. Can you give me kind of a few sentences of what product launch formula is, how it works, and so on, so everybody can get a flavor so that they can, go to some of the free resources or maybe even buy your book?
Right. Well, basically, it's this process. I mean, it's almost like you mentioned earlier, Apple, the way they roll out products, or even you look at the way Hollywood rolls out products, but they've both obviously have massive budgets. And so what Product Launch Formula does is it gives you a lot of that power for someone who doesn't have those resources. And because it costs almost nothing to pull off one of these launches. It costs you effort and work, but the budget is almost non-existent. And so it's this idea of you deliver great value up front, and you do it in a sequence that grabs people's attention and have them, rapidly anticipating your product or your business before you roll it out. Part of it is discovery, where you're discovering what are the hot points, what are people really looking for, so that you're actually selling a product that people want. I'm a big fan of coming out with stuff that people just really want to buy. You don't want to be in the situation where you're trying to sell them something they don't want. So part of that is this pre-launch where it's a discovery of what they want, of what their objections are. and then take them through a process where you deliver great value through a series of pre-launch content. These days, it's almost always done via video. So easy to do video these days, and so much easier to communicate in an authentic and articulate way via video. Most of us can speak a lot better than we can write. And so you deliver a series of videos that lead right into your launch. So people they've got your launch date circled on the calendar, so they just can't wait to buy from you. The reality is we're all it's a very noisy environment. There's more content, more information than anyone can consume. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we didn't have text messages and Skype and voicemail and email and YouTube and advertising on your airplane trays. Well, our brains haven't, the marketing fog's increased, but our capability of processing that has not increased. So we pay attention to less. So it's a lot. If you're just out there advertising, no one cares, no one's watching. But if you put together content, you do it in a fashion that leads down the garden path to your product, then you win. And then it comes down to, that launch date, and really, instead of depending on what I call hope marketing and just creating something and putting it out there and hoping people want, it's about engineering your process so people land on your launch day and they're ready to buy.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, we've taken what you've taught us, and as a matter of fact, my whole team has watched you. They know you very well. Jeff does a lot of videos, and it's step by step, and it's very systemic. I mean, it's very process driven, and it's on the right side of complexity, that simple process. That I want to encourage everyone to reach out. Matter of fact, let me just go, and I'm going to hit resources. Jeff, I'm pulling up your website, and it's at jeffwalker.com for those of you on the audio podcast. And as it comes up, you've got some free offer there, the 16 rules. What's that?
Oh, that's a PDF report, basically. Since I've been doing business 100% online since '96, it's a long time. I sort of boiled it down to my 16 rules of success. And some of them are simple, some of them are less obvious. But yeah, so I basically wrote that out. My team put in this beautiful PDF, and I've always been very strategy focused. There's tons of tactics online, but I've always been very strategy focused, and that's exactly what that report is. It's the 16 strategic rules that I've seen drive people's success, and when people ignore them, they drive failure.
Yeah, and it's so easy, in marketing. So much. One of the things I love working with Jeff and the other really direct response people. I mean, you don't do anything without measuring it and really being thoughtful. And in today's world, we all have these real sophisticated, particularly in the corporate side, you can have all the marketing automation. You can really have it in the just bootstrap side too now. And what happens is that you test this, and what I love about what Jeff's done is he's tested it, not only obviously in his own business, but others. And boy, you've just nailed it. I mean, and for these larger businesses, they can scale it up pretty quickly.
Absolutely. That's the beautiful thing. So I guess what I do is direct response. And I've studied direct response from before the internet. In fact, I think that was one of the big successes I had was when I started, there was no training on doing business online. So I went and found the only training I could, which was old school direct response. Mm-hmm. And then I just started applying it to the internet. I think I was one of the very first people to do that. But I never did do big direct mail and TV and radio. But I do know that it took a lot longer to measure stuff when you're sending direct mail. Here you can put something up, you can put an ad up on Facebook and you've got feedback in minutes.
Yeah, no, there's no reason not to test everything anymore. I mean, it's so cheap. And I want to go to a segment here. Tell me what you're passionate about now. I mean, you're a high energy guy. What are you passionate about right now?
In business?
In business here. I don't want to get too personal. We're good friends, but not too much.
You know me. I'll tell you skiing and mountain biking.
We share some of the great passions of life, but I'm talking about as our fellow entrepreneurs. One of the things, and maybe just touch, Jeff, one of the big things that I think you do that a lot of people don't do, they say they do, but they don't do, is you actually have designed your life. And I mean, I would include myself this way too, that we've designed our lives to be successful on purpose. And, you live in the mountains for a reason. Why?
It's pure lifestyle. I mean, I live in Durango, Colorado because I can live anywhere I want. And it's just, I've got the mountains, I've got the desert. I have these passions for being outdoors, for playing in my body, for playing with my friends, for playing with my kids. And it's a big part of me. But I think it's also, like you asked earlier, like, why do people stick with me for so long? And I think, in this business and every business, it comes down to being attractive. And I don't want to go all woo-woo on you, but I am from Southwest Colorado. And, I think there's things that make you attractive and things that repel people. And one of them is your inner game. And part of my inner game is being healthy. It's getting out and having fun and having fun within my business. It's meditation. It's all, it's a complete package. And I think the more you can have a well-rounded life and have true, power in every area of your life, the more attractive you become. And frankly, I think that's why you see when I put out a blog post, there might be 80 or 100 comments or more. And part of that, is I'm living, and certainly not everyone wants to live in Durango. Mm-hmm. A lot of people want to live in New York or LA or San Diego, and that's great. But it's like, you only got one shot at this. There's no dress rehearsal. So everyone watching this, you're an entrepreneur, or maybe you're between businesses or whatever. Next time, this business is perfect for me. My last business was great. It was 98% perfect, but it wasn't perfect. So I rebuilt the perfect one. And I misspoke. My business isn't perfect. Nothing about my life is perfect, but it's really close. And I always want to work on making it.
You're working on perfection.
Exactly. It's like it's 98% perfect, and I want that other 2%, damn it.
And that 2% keeps on moving up a little bit.
Exactly. But what I'm passionate about right now is I'm always passionate about my clients and helping them get better and bigger results. I'm passionate. I'm passionate about continuing to improve my product. I'm passionate right now about for years, Facebook and the ability to advertise on Facebook is tremendously exciting. Same thing with YouTube. And the ability to start driving traffic to your site immediately and start testing on that, it's intoxicating is what it is. And we're in this phase right now where it's easier to drive traffic to your site than it's been since I can remember.
Yeah, let me stop here too, Jeff, because this is a big deal for all of us as fellow entrepreneurs. That one of the things we think, well, maybe we're late to the game on all this. No, all the big brands have created these huge platforms. Jeff was talking about YouTube, Facebook, and we can go on and on. All these different brands, we're on iTunes or Stitcher for the podcast here, whatever. They've created all these platforms for us, but they need content. And the ability that you have to generate content to attract people, like-minded people to you, has never been better. And I think, Jeff, you do that fantastically.
Yeah. And, everyone watching this has the ability to shoot video. You've either got a camera built into your computer, or you've got a camera built into your phone. I'm sitting here right now within 3 feet of me. I've got 3 different cameras that I could be shooting videos for YouTube. And, and we're in my studio. We aren't really obviously set up to do a great Skype shot yet, but I've got a nice studio. We've got nice cameras that we spent many thousands of dollars for. We've got lights. So I put out a weekly video on my blog. And about 3/4 of the time, we do it great with a full pro setup. And by the other quarter of the time, like I'm on vacation and some inspiration comes, and I'll sit there and I'll hold my camera, my iPhone out, and I'll shoot a video at arm's length, shoot a selfie. And you know what? Those selfie videos get just as many comments as the full-out pro hook. It just doesn't matter. I love production quality. I like looking good, but it doesn't matter in terms of getting your message out there. You just have to be able to articulate your message.
And that's don't let money or fear of looking bad. You're never going to get. You can go do full production corporate videos. I'll get every once in a while. Somebody from one of the major firms will say, the Fortune 50, John, shouldn't you, do all this? And, well, we could produce one video a month type thing at the level that they want to do it. And that's not what people want. They want content, they want your inspiration, they want your message, and getting out there and sharing, video is phenomenal.
Right. I mean, I remember back when, you got one of my older products, and it was when we were just starting to shoot video, and I'm sitting there. It was in front of a whiteboard with a lousy camera and lousy lights,
millions of dollars of production value.
Yeah, no, I mean it's like we're like sitting there. It was my garage. It was.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I remember you saying, Jeff, I was sitting there when I first got your product. I'm looking at this guy who's sitting there in a T-shirt with in front of a whiteboard. Is like. But it didn't stop you from making a couple $1 million a year.
Yeah, and I bought everything else that you've had. Plus, my whole team has watched them all, and I learned a lot, Jeff, from that too. And I think that's a good. Probably the whole setup was maybe $1,000, $2,000.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. That's counting the beer that went with it and everything.
Yeah.
But I didn't care about that. I mean, the initial, because I came from corporate, I go, I don't know. And then all of a sudden I saw the value of the insights, and it was like, whoa. And that's don't get caught up in that. Now, I got to keep us on track, because you and I could spend some great quality time together on anything. But let's go, I want to go to your smartphone, because one of the segments is an app of the day. Hang on just for a second. What is on your smartphone that you want to share with your fellow entrepreneurs you think is a great tool?
Yeah, so it's this app, and it's called Relax Melodies.
Okay, I'm pulling it up on the screen here from iTunes.
Yeah. And you can get it on, I think it's for any, it's Android, iPhone. I think you can get it for your computer. And basically what it is it's a white noise generator. So you can layer in all kinds of sounds, put in your earbuds, put in your earphones. And it's also has binaural beats. I don't want to get into what that is, but it's pretty cool. And you're programming your brain to either relax or be super focused. And so, we're all creators. We have to be creators. And when I get in that creative mode, I'll close the door, I'll turn off my phone, I'll turn off Instant Messenger, I'll turn off everything, put that on for an hour, and it'll just help me focus and completely just turn the world off. And I also use it for meditation too. So
I will download it. Thank you. I mean, one of the things we all have a challenge of is focus, focus, focus. Okay, let me go to the next segment. This is the book of the day. And Jeff, normally I let anybody choose whatever they want, but I wasn't going to let Jeff get away with choosing somebody else's book. Jeff, as we're doing this recording, Jeff is just launched his book, and it's a phenomenal one. Do you have one there?
Yeah, I'm going to go off camera. Look, I'm not going to.
Okay, well, I'll pull up real quick. It's on Amazon. Jeff gave me, let me go back to you. Jeff gave me a copy of it, Galley's, and I read it on the flight back from Toronto. We were together at Strategic Coach, and I got to tell you, Jeff, I was blown away. I did share with you. I always worry that I tell these things, people are going to say royalties, but I got one little idea that in my marketing group is saying they think it's worth about we've already generated $200,000 just from the book. And let me put it back up on the book was Kindle only $7.69. So it is one hell of a return on investment, Jeff. But tell me how the launch is going. Because one of the problems of being a successful individual entrepreneur is high expectations. So when you write a book, people go, oh, it's going to be hugely successful.
Yeah. So it's launch, and right. The proof is in the pudding, right? If I going to teach launch, I better be able to do it. So, and this is my first book ever. It's a whole new world for me, but I do know a little bit about promoting things. So we actually did a bunch of pre-sales, and that went really, really well. And then the publication date was, as we record this, was just a couple days ago. And we've already we're overall number one on Barnes & Noble. We're number one in many categories at Amazon, including sales and marketing, and a whole bunch of others that I can't remember. So it's pretty exciting. We've already sold tens of thousands of this book, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, everyone should buy it. I mean, quite honestly, if you're doing anything to do with marketing at all, this will be the best purchase you'll make this year and maybe ever. It's one of those foundation books. So I'm going to encourage you to do it. You can go to Amazon, obviously has it, and it is, Jeff, I really appreciate you taking that time to do the book with all the other things that are going on and sharing, so insights, other people have paid really, thousands of dollars and actually millions of dollars in mistakes. They could just buy the book and see how to execute.
Right. Yeah, no, it was quite a journey to write this thing because so much of it is my personal story and I had to get it right. And then so much of it is my students' stories. So I really had to get it. And this, I did what you're not supposed to do. I took years writing this book, but it was a labor of love. And I'm just really excited the feedback I'm already getting. Sort of you create something like that, you spend years and you're like, then I had this thought was, wow, I'm going to give it to someone. Is it going to really actually suck? I think it's good, but you never really know. But
the market's telling you it's very, very good. So you got a lot to be proud of. Let me go to the next segment. I need your one insight for entrepreneurs you want to share today that they should be thinking about with their teams.
Yeah, so your one insight's tough. But we were actually talking about this before the interview, and I think like what I bring, what I do, all my success is based on providing tremendous value to the market and then closing on the sale. And you see there's a lot of people that are there's a lot of great salespeople in the world and they're always selling. But that's working, in my experience, less and less nowadays than it used to. And we all know that business success is based on repeat sales. And if you just make that great closer, often you're not making that repeat sale. And then on the other hand, you see, so they're not providing value up front. And then on the other hand, you see a lot of people that just provide value and maybe they're putting out blog posts and YouTube videos and they're value, but they never actually close for the sale. So the thing is provide that value, but have that be that greased chute that leads into having you be seen as the authority and the service provider or the product provider and close on the sale. So you need both. You need to provide that value up front and you need to have that lead into the sale.
That's fantastic. Let me go to the key takeaways that I'm walking away with, Jeff, because these are big. And, number one, treat your clients like owners. And whatever terminology you use, they are so important that there's so much research on client-centric and client focus and all of that. And we've done a whole bunch of it in the financial services industry. And it's the incremental improvement in your business is unbelievable. For the level of service you have to do to deliver world-class experience, it's huge. So treat them well. Second, build a community. Jeff talked about the noise of the marketplace. Our research is there's the average affluent, so successful individual many of us are targeting, is getting 4,000 messages a day. 4,000. Talk about noise. So the only way we can get around that noise is creating a community. And the third part is really what I took away, Jeff, that does it, is going ahead and delivering value. And I think, I'm trying to remember the earliest work you did, I think it was at least 4 times to 1 that value first, before you would sell. You're really building that relationship. And I see you doing it more and more. So, these are lessons, whether you're an online marketer or you're any of the Fortune 50. This is so important for us to do, and it's not done. And to the extent you do it, you're going to have huge success. Jeff, I want to thank you for spending the time today with us out there making a difference. I'm going to encourage everyone to definitely go out and get his book, Launch. It is amazing. You can go to Amazon or any of the other areas and get that, read it, and put it to use. Your clients, your future clients, they're all counting on you. Don't let them down. Wish you the best of success.
Thanks, John. Love being with you.
Exceptional, remarkable breakthroughs. AESNation.com.